because of the nonsense being spread, certain people have been convinced to stop following the safety guidelines and to ignore the lockdown. This has resulted in many people getting sick and even dying, and I hold this group accountable for their deaths. Hey guys, Rafi here from the End Game Investor. I have what I think is going to be the most important video I've ever made. It's not going to get the most views, I don't think, but that doesn't really matter. I have here an old friend of mine, Shmuel Sackett, who I've known since 2008.
Friend of yours or an old friend of yours?
We got into an argument of whether we're friends or not. We will be friendly and respectful on this interview, of course.
Yes, we will.
The reason I think that this is such an important opportunity is because Shmuel and I go back a long time and we've been in the trenches together. I'll tell you one story about that. And Shmuel and I ended up being, to my surprise, on very opposite sides of the COVID debate. I was against all the regulations fiercely. And Shmuel wrote an article in Israel National News on Arot Sheva that I'll read during the course of this debate, and you'll see where his position was. But one story about Shmuel and why we have respect for each other is back when I was active with Moshe Feiglin, who is famous for blocking roads to protest the Oslo Accords in the 90s, along with Shmuel, who's second in command of that movement. In 2010, a day after I got released from the army, from the Israeli army, there was this vote in the Likud Central Committee about whether to put off elections or not. And I was like really wound up, and Moshe Feiglin was gonna win a lot of Likud Central Committee seats, and there was a lot of voter fraud suspected. We were all being wound up and very scared, and I was like emotionally unstable at the time. And I was set to watch the Kalpi, the voting booth at Herzliya. And Shmuel was with me pretty much the whole day, pretty much calming me down, keeping me under control. I was a young kid, 26 years old. And I think, though I suspect you were put there on purpose to keep me out of trouble. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that for sure, but that's what it felt like. So Shmuel, what do you do? What do you want people to know about you? What are you doing now? And just briefly about what you did in the 90s and in the early 2000s.
Okay, Rafi, first of all, hello to you. Also, I know you for many, many years, and happy to be a friend of you and your wife, and Baruch Hashem, see you grow into from a young man to a young father. Baruch Hashem, wishing you well and all your listeners as well in this new year. Made Aliyah, moved to Israel in 1990 with, at the time, my wife and 4 kids, added 2 more Israeli-born here in Israel, and we're living in Israel for the last 33 years, Baruch Hashem. Children, grandchildren, thank God, Hashem should bless us all and all of the nation of Israel. For the last, let's see, what's it now, 2023, I'd say 7 years full-time, I've been running a foundation that I started. I started the foundation back in 2001, but I've been running it full-time the last 7 years, which is called the Am Yisrael Chai Foundation, which supports agricultural, defense, and educational projects all around Israel. Happy to support these projects to helping save lives, reclaiming the land, supporting Jews who need support in terms of the heroes of the land who are building up the land in the very disputed areas. And it's a great honor for me to be involved in this foundation to help build and defend and educate people and the land of Israel. That's what I'm doing now. And Bezrat Hashem, let's get to the subject matter at hand.
Okay. So I was sent an article by Rav Hananya Weissman, I think on September 2nd or September 3rd, that you had written in IsraelNationalNews.com. So this is October 11th, 2020. Be careful of the pandemic Jewish cult. I have decided, Shmuel writes, that I must write against the few people in the Torah world who call this the alleged COVID crisis. It costs lives, op-ed. So he says, I cannot be quiet any longer. While I will not mention any names of cult members in this article, I have decided that I must write against a few people in the Torah world, some of whom are my friends, who write, text, tweet, and post about what they call the alleged COVID crisis. To them, this is not a pandemic, but a plandemic designed by wicked people such as Bill Gates, Benjamin Netanyahu, and those who support the New World Order. Some refer to anyone who is involved as a malik and have even made videos and posts saying that anyone who davens with a mask, who prays with a mask, meaning, which they call a face diaper, as worshiping Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah means idolatry. I am not kidding nor exaggerating. This is exactly what they say, and their little group of cult followers are very vocal in the world of social media. I'm sure this article will be blasted by all these cult members who seem to have nothing better to do than spread their ideology of lies, deceit, and nonsense. Please don't misunderstand me. When I use the word cult, I mean it. They proudly parade without masks, ignore all social distancing rules, try to beat the lockdown, and will send you videos of fellow weirdos who prove their position. Lately, utter nonsense that has been spewed by the members of this cult has been incredible. They actually wrote that if you daven while wearing a mask, you are guilty of worshiping idols. I immediately emailed them pictures of Rav Shmuel Eliyahu davening with a mask and told them how Rav Ar Yisrael Ariel is always with a mask and is Rav Eliezer Melamed and Rav Tzvi Rimon, etc., etc. Are these Gedolim guilty of worshiping idols? Heaven forbid. The problem with this cult is the fact that they are very active on social media, and I know that weak people will follow their sick ideas. Cult leaders always attack the weak, and this is no different. Because of the nonsense being spread, certain people have been convinced to stop following the safety guidelines and to ignore the lockdown. This has resulted in many people getting sick and even dying, and I hold this group accountable for their deaths. Several shuls in Monsey, Brooklyn, and Beit Shemesh used to follow the guidelines, but were convinced not to take them seriously anymore. The cult was very happy to have found members, only to find out that several of these new recruits sadly actually contracted and died of COVID. When I confronted the main guru of this cult, he told me that they died because of the terrible care in the hospital. He knows the cure to COVID, but nobody listened to him, so it was the hospital that killed him, and he had no hand in it. Then started explaining to me that this was all planned by Bill Gates and even Netanyahu had a hand in the evil plan. I am not making this up. We had an email exchange about this, and I asked you if you take back any of the words in this article, and you said, no, I stand by every word. Now, what logically, that could mean one of two things. That's it for YouTube, folks. If you want to see the actual debate, interview, discussion, whatever you want to call it, we talk about all the issues, or all the issues I want to talk about. All the forbidden ones, go to Rumble at the link in the description below. And for my new followers and subscribers who found me through this interview, you can support me by going to patreon.com/endgameinvestor, link in the description below, where I give a weekly video on monetary economics and the Torah, where you can also ask me questions on anything that you want. And soon we'll have live streams there going up, God willing. You can support me for as little as $3 a month or $30 a year. It is how I keep this channel going. And of course, sign up for a 2-week free trial of the End Game Investor at the link in the description below. Daily market commentary on the gold and silver markets. If you want a thorough understanding of the monetary system, how it is structured, and why the Israeli shekel will collapse with the US dollar upon which it is based, along with all other currencies on this planet, all that will be left for money is gold and silver, and how best to protect yourself, then please get a 2-week free trial of the End Game Investor, and you will understand a lot of what is going on in the monetary system today and why it is almost about to explode.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!